Okay, who here misses my old background because I'm so not having moving back home with my parents and not having my beautiful mural back in my wall. Alright guys, hey, it's Majelle here. If you guys aren't subscribed to my channel, then hi, nice to meet you. And if you are subscribed to my channel, then welcome back. I'm finally doing a video that I've been meaning to do for a while and I'm really happy about this. What's really cool about this video too is that I came up with the idea for it a little bit ago, and then I wrote a list on like the books that I should include in there just by like looking through my Goodreads and then decided on the books. And then after like, you know, all my good summer reading, I like didn't get around to making that video. Now I am now, so that's what counts. I read a book that I added onto the list, so I'm really happy about that because that means one, that I'm still reading really good books, and two, that I have more to talk about in this video, I guess. Oh, I guess I should talk about what I'm, you know, filming right now. So this is going to be the best YA fantasies that I have read. So this is the ones that I have read. This is not the ones ever. I wish I could say ever, but like, I mean, there's no way I will ever be able to read every single YA fantasy there is, no matter how much I try. Even if I continuously set my book goal at 50 books a year, there's just still gonna be new things coming out. So if there are things that I don't mention that you're like, what the heck, Majelle? Like, why isn't an ember and an ash in the ashes there? Well, that's just because I haven't read that particular series yet, and though I really want to because that one sounds amazing. It's just one of the things I haven't read yet, so it will not be on the list. But by all means, recommend me a crazy amount of ones if they're not on this list. This is in no way ranked. There's books that I love more than other books in this list, but for me to choose a ranked list of like 1 to 11 on which one's the best would be really hard. So I'm just gonna start in and do it in no particular order. The first one is actually a book that I read not that long ago that I totally want to make a review video on, but I don't even know how to go about like getting my thoughts together on that because I'm still sad about it. It is The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. I absolutely love this book. I guess I'll give you guys a brief synopsis on it too. So it is all about taking, in the 1800s, this girl who doesn't realize that she has powers. She is taken into the London Institute of the Shadowhunter world of that time. Shadowhunters being, you know, demon fighters. I don't know if you guys knew that one yet, but I figured I'd mention that. She meets everyone who helps run the institute and they all become her friends. She meets these 2 boys who are peri-body, so they are very closely connected, sort of best friends slash warriors. I guess that's a easy way to describe that. And it is a love triangle between those 3 people, and oh my god, I've never seen a love triangle that hurt me like this. So I 10 out of 10 recommend reading this book. I could say more, but I don't really feel like getting that into it just because I don't want to give away too much of the book so that you're kind of like expecting a lot about the plot. But seriously, this book is amazing. You guys need to go and read it. The second one, it's been a long time since I read it. It is The Vampire Academy by Michelle Mead. It was my favorite series when I read it though, so I do have to say that you need to go and read it. And if I'm trying to even think about what the plot is, it was so long ago that I read this. It is about vampires and their sort of different classes within them. So there are 3 different classes, and one is sort of like the elite. They all have powers, they're all really cool. And then there are their fighters or their protectors, and the main story goes around as the female protagonist who is the protector to the next heir line of the queen of the most powerful vampires. I'm completely forgetting what they're called. And then there are also these bad vampires, and they are a totally different race, and it has to do with a lot of like these Strigoi trying to fight and like overcome and take power away from these ones here. And seriously, it's just such a good book. I'm giving a terrible example because it's been so long since I read it, but you guys need to go and read this book. It's one that you wouldn't expect to be good just because it is called Vampire Academy, but I promise it's really, really good. And there's just such a negative condensation to vampires lately that I feel like the Vampire Academy series just isn't getting as many reads as it should be getting, and I would like to say to ignore that sort of like negative idea of vampires. It's a good book and they can still be fun things even if the fandom of Twilight ruined that for you. The next one is actually being made into a movie soon. It is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. It's been a little bit since I've read this, but it's been enough times that I've explained on BookTube the synopsis, so I'm able to give you a synopsis of what it is about. Everybody's kids get sick, and out of all these kids, I think like 10% survive, the rest die off. The 10% that survive all get superpowers, and it is about one girl with a particularly good superpower and her life and her journey after being put into these like sort of concentration camps for these kids that have superpowers. Go see the movie if you don't feel like reading the book, because I promise that the plot line is good and worth it. And I mean, supporting YA in any single way is a really good idea. So, but I recommend personally reading the books because I really liked them, even if they kind of ended on a cliffhanger. The next one actually wasn't my like favorite series of all time, but the first two books were, but the third one let it really fall flat. And it is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I believe that's how you say her name. Oh my god, I can't even think of like how to explain this plot because it is so intricate, and that's why it's on this list. This is a fantasy novel that you can really tell a lot of effort was put into. It's so, like, the plot is so well developed. So many intricate ideas come into this world. It's about this race of people inside of like this like completely different fictional fantasy world who can go and travel in between these 5 different Londons, and these 5 different Londons are all have been variously affected by magic in it. So the one that he is in right now, everyone has magic, but then there's our London where it's like grey London where no one has magic, and there's like black London where there's obviously a world that's been crumbled and taken away, and it's very interesting to see what happens because of this, but I'm not going to really say more than that. I can just tell you it follows this guy who meets this thief and this cool girl from our London, and she gets taken into his world, and it's sort of their story, but it's so much more than that. It's a really good book. I found the ending itself didn't really do it for me, but I have heard people say like amazing things, and I was recommended by a really cool girl for this, so I definitely recommend this one to you guys too. The next book is a book that has really stayed with me since I read it, and is The Winner's Curse by Marie Rutkowski. I can't say it. I'm gonna give up here. So I actually loved The Winner's Curse so much. One, it has beautiful covers, so if you ever want to get a copy of it, then go ahead because it's gonna look beautiful on your bookshelf. And 2, the plot and the story were just so poetic. That's all I can really like remember about this, is just feeling like the way everything was written was just so beautiful and flowy, and I think you guys should read it because of that, but I can also tell you guys a little bit of the plot. The Winner's Curse is actually this old idea that like it's kind of like you get what you know, be careful what you get, be careful what you wish for, you know, because the main female protagonist of this decides to buy a slave. Slaves are really big in their country. It really has to do with these like 2 different races. One is enslaved to the other, and she buys this slave who obviously ends up being the romantic love interest. And I can't really say more than that, but it's her winning the auction and the curse that kind of comes with that. And it's all about this war-torn idea in society, and honestly it's so great. The love interest is very much like you're trying to push them together the entire time, and things keep pulling them apart, and I'm not giving that good of a synopsis, but yes, I keep saying that, so maybe I'm giving a good synopsis. Maybe I'm a better synopsis giver than I think I am. So I think you guys should read that. The next one I'm lumping into one because you should absolutely read both of these, and you kind of have to read the first one before you read the second one. It is the Grisha series by Leigh Bardugo. You go ahead and start with the Shadow and Bone series, and then you make your way to the Six of Crows series, and I love these series so much. I could use a reread, I'm not gonna lie. The Shadow and Bone series, weirdly enough, stayed with me a lot longer than the Six of Crows ones. Like the Six of Crows, everyone talks about. If you love the Six of Crows, it's the easiest thing to talk about because everyone is like, yes, I like absolutely love Kaz and Inej and everything like that. No one really talks about the Siege and Storm series, and I loved it so much. It really depicted a villain really well, so I guess I can kind of tell you guys what this is. So Grishas are people with powers, and they are born into a world where a lot of people don't have powers, and so they're sort of treated as this like the elite of the world, and they have this whole society going on. And the first story starts off, which would be Siege and Storm, starts off with this girl who doesn't have any powers and realizes that she has this incredible power that matches against the Darkling of the world. She is sort of like the light version of this insane dark power from this man, and she is the light version of that, so she's kind of like his counterpart in a way. And that is their story. Well, it's her story. It's not really his, it's her story. And then it sort of continues into that universe, and a lot of the ideas I mentioned, a lot of characters are there, so I would recommend reading this one before you read this one. And Six of Crows is about these 6 people pulling, that's not 6, 6 people pulling off a heist. It has such amazing world building, but it is all about this like ragtag bunch of people who all have like different sets of skills that will all help this heist. And it is so good. It is so damn good. I like Can't really tell you more than that. Some have powers, some don't. Some are just clever and have, you know, the cleverness in their brain, and that is what makes them fantastic. So go and read these 2 series. I'm like, if you haven't read them already, I know, I didn't read them either, and then when I finally got around to reading them, I realized my life was changed afterwards, so I think you guys should read them. The next one's a pretty obvious one. I don't even know if I should include this in here, but it's Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. It's not exactly YA, I guess it's like ages 9 to 12, or at least the bookstore I worked at was ages 9 to 12, and that's the section it was put in. But, I mean, you can't go wrong with Harry Potter, so that's why I'm putting it in here. I also feel like I don't need to give a synopsis for Harry Potter, so, you know, boy with School of Magic. The next one is a series that actually just came out this year, and it's one that I'm like literally waiting for the sequel to so badly. It is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. The idea of world building in this is so beautiful. It is so like fairy woodland creatures, but also a dark storyline in it. Whoa, haven't thought about this story in a while. It's kind of hard to think of the plot for it. Give me a second. So it is about this not fairy girl whose parents are killed by the mom's ex-husband, but it's not her dad, and about her life as she goes from the normal world into the fairy world and trying to survive as sort of like seen as like scum of the earth and like no one should like her, just trying to like work her way up into society and sort of, I don't know, she is using her brain as her power, where everyone else in this world seems to like care more about like their actual powers and like less of their, you know, like scheming a bit. Another terrible synopsis in this video, but I think you guys should go watch it because she herself was fantastic. Probably one of the coolest characters I've read all year, smartest characters I've read in a really long time, so go and read The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. The next one is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. Actually, now is a good time to pick it up if you haven't read it already, because the very last book in the series of like 6 books is coming out, and I guess I should give a synopsis. So the book starts out in the first book with this really badass assassin who needs to go compete in this assassin competition, and then you sort of see her going through that, but then you don't realize that she is also, you know, like has a big secret that I probably shouldn't say because that's not revealed until a few books in, that sort of leads into this like big fantasy world and so many different things and wars happening, and her using that secret to rebuild a community that has been dispersed. Yeah, that was a terrible description. I hope you guys understand that I'm just trying not to give away too much of the plot, but, you know, assassin competition sounds pretty cool much as it is, so I think you should read it just for that sentence. The next one is, of course, another Sarah J. Maas novel. You guys know that it's my favorite. I would grab the book because I'm rereading it right now, but it's on my bed, and it is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I love this book. This is literally, if I had to rank this video, it would be #1 on my list, just because it's my favorite book of all time. It is my #1, and I think you should go read it because literally love this book so much. So it is about a mortal girl in a world that it's, you know, divided between like the small chunk the mortals get and then the big chunk the fairies get. And she kills a fairy and is brought as sort of a punishment to killing this fairy into the world of the Fae. And this world is divided into different courts. You've got the spring court, winter court, day court, night court, everything like that court. And you see her journey going through trying to figure out what is going on in this world. How do I even say this? And then it's also an amazing love story, and she's trying to help and save the world in many different ways, and there's always a war. In every single YA fantasy, there's always a war that has to be won, and obviously she's gonna help. The last I have on this list is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I put out my War Storm review, so if you guys have read this series and want to go see my War Storm review, it is out there. I feel like this dress is so booby. Whatever, I don't even have any, so it doesn't matter. So Red Queen is another one that I've talked so much about on BookTube that like just saying the synopsis comes so fast to me. That's what she said. So in this world, and like many other YA fantasies that I love, there are people with powers who are called the Silvers, and then there are people without powers who are called the Red, and obviously the Red has a main protagonist And it's such a similar plot to a lot of them, and saying these all in order really makes me realize that. But the red has this one special girl, and this one special girl just happens to have these weird powers that have never been seen before in this world of silvers and reds, and it is all about her story in literally destroying the government and trying to, you know, make the world a more like better equal place, which is such a plot in YA fantasy that I think is the opposite of a problem that I'm seeing this so many times. Who doesn't love the idea that a girl will go out and change the world and to change the ways that is bad into making it a good world? Like, something that we might need right now, maybe? Seems familiar somewhere. I hope you guys appreciate this video. I hope you guys appreciate my synopsis and everything I say it. I feel like I'm so much more like bubbly in videos, but I just worked out and I'm actually really tired right now. So yeah, like this video if you genuinely like this video, and subscribe to my channel if you feel like it. Go and watch my other videos. I promise there's like at least a new video a week out or something like that. So thank you guys for watching. Gonna do my hand thing. Bye.